Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. This is Simon with AvaTrade, and we're starting our weekly trading plan webinar. And of course, special welcome to the new people. And the title says it all pretty much. What we try to do here is to create a plan of action for the upcoming week. And as traders like to say, you plan your trade and then you trade your plan. And I always say it, and I'll keep on saying it, that being organized doesn't guarantee success, but definitely improves results in everything, and especially in trading. So what we try to do here is actually create a structure and remove impulsive trading or reactive trading, which really makes a difference. A few things about myself. This is me, Simon Friedman. I'm a senior account manager with AvaTrade. And I started to trade almost 23 years ago, June of 2000. And I started as a proprietary day trader back in New York City. I did it for about 11 years, and then I moved on from active day trading to a different way of trading. And I started to mentor and educate other traders. And currently, I'm very happy to be able to assist customers with AvaTrade. The agenda of the webinar is pretty much the same every week. We talk about indices, stocks, commodities, and Forex. And of course, before that, we'll take a look at the big picture, what's happening, a little bit of an economic calendar. And these are the channels that would be a great idea for you to follow. There's a lot of information being shared there. You have Telegram, Twitter, and my favorite YouTube channel. And if you ever miss webinars, that we do a lot of them, you can find them recorded and posted on YouTube. And excuse me. There's a lot of educational material, tutorials, and everything else. So you can subscribe and click on the bell so you could be notified when new things are coming out. Risk warning, you can find the full document at avatrade.com. And everything we do here, it's purely educational. Okay, so as you know, I like to post some snapshots there. And this is the one, and the title says, it's from marketwatch.com. It says US stocks end sharply higher after inflation report. NASDAQ scores best quarter since 2020. We'll go through the numbers in a moment. And we did have some data that shows a slowdown of the inflation, and market reacted in a positive way. Friday was a very strong move to the upside. And by the way, before I forget, this coming Friday, it's very important. I will have NFP reports, but the stock market will not open on Friday. The stock market will be closed for Good Friday. It's a holiday in the US, and it's not going to be trading going on New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ. No US stocks will be trading. So just for the upcoming Friday. Okay, so let's bring up the numbers. Okay, and again, Friday was a sharp move to the upside as the numbers came out showing that inflation is slowing down. It's some signs of that. And let's just go through numbers. Dow Jones Industrial rose 415 points or 1.3%. S&Ps gained 58.5 points. That's 104%. That's for Friday only. And NASDAQ jumped to 8 points or 1.7%. That's for Friday. Now, for the week that just ended, the Dow gained 3.2%, S&Ps gained 3.5%, and NASDAQ gained 3.4%. And according to the Dow Jones market data, the Dow Jones and S&P 500 each had the best week since November of last year. So it shows great improvement there. Now the numbers for the month. Dow Jones rose 1.9%, S&Ps rose 3.5%, almost the double, and the NASDAQ jumped 6.7%, almost the double of S&P. So Nasdaq clearly the strongest, as it got hit the most, so it bounced as well pretty strongly. Now the numbers for the quarter. Now we just finished the quarter. Also important to keep in mind. Soon we're going to start having reports of the earnings of the companies for the first quarter. So for the first quarter, the results of S&P 500 up 7%, Dow Jones almost flat, 0.4% for the quarter. And listen to this, Nasdaq is up 16.8% for the first 3 months for the first quarter. And it's the largest quarterly percentage since the second quarter of 2020. That was the gain after the initial move down on COVID, and then it was a strong bounce in 2020. So this one is the largest quarterly percentage rise since that time. Okay, so everything looks very strong. Let's see if it's going to be able to sustain these gains. Okay, so like I said, Friday is a good Friday. The market will be closed. Okay, let's move on to economic calendar, and then we'll switch to the trading terminal, and we'll look through some instruments. Okay, now economic calendar for new people. Just few words, very important. These numbers and announcements, it's a public information. You can find it anywhere. With us, you can find it on WebTrader or the app. And there's a lot of sources that share this. It's the same information provided by the same sources. And here specifically, I take out the high impact events only. And you can browse through them, you can filter them, you can see what's relevant for your trading geographically or in any other way. Now, Sunday, tonight we'll have a large manufacturing index from Japan. Monday, a manufacturing PMI from US. We have interest rate decisions Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday, we have the interest rate decision from Australia. They're planning on increasing a little bit. Wednesday, the same thing from New Zealand. And then on Wednesday, we have ADP employment change. So give us a little bit of indication what NFPs might be on Friday. We have service PMI from US. Thursday, trade balance from Australia, and employment data from Canada. They moved it to Thursday just because of the holiday, I guess. And US will report the NFPs on Friday, but as I said, the market will not open. So the stocks are going to be affected, I guess, the following week when the Monday market opens. Okay, so this is the economic calendar. Again, you can choose what's relevant for you. There's a lot more events. I just take the high impact ones. Okay, let's move to the MT4, and we start with the indices. With Asia, actually, Asian indices were strong. Japan index had a nice run, 3 consecutive large candles to the upside, and we could be approaching resistance around here if we take this tail over here, 28,245. We fell from this level, and as you see previously, there was a lot of actions here, also over here, so we could be reaching there. Now, China index, maybe it didn't caught up with U.S. indices. It didn't have actually that run on Friday. It went down, it went the opposite direction. Now, U.S. indices, as we mentioned, the numbers for the quarters were tremendous. We'll start with Nasdaq, which is the strongest. Take a look. We just broke through this previous resistance. Wednesday, we closed right on it. Thursday, we moved higher, and Friday, we moved higher, closed on the highs. So again, sometimes I mentioned it, some traders like to use this Thursday, Friday kind of strategy. When Friday closes above Thursday, the following day, that Monday session would continue in the same direction to the upside in this case. Let's see if it will work for us. So Nasdaq, again, it's up. On the weekly chart, it could be approaching the resistance around these levels here. Was at 13,581. S&P 500. It didn't act, of course, the same way like Nasdaq did. We didn't break through this resistance. And take a look. We had the double top here first. We had on December 12th. We hit 4,173. Then there was a lot of actions here back in February. We couldn't break it, and we could be hitting there that level soon again. If we are, we could also turn around and go straight back down. But if we do move higher, so this level here around 4,173 would be the one to be tested. And here we go on Dow Jones, the weakest one on the quarter and on the month. And it still had a nice 3 days advance. Friday was a very strong one. We are above all the moving averages. And we could be actually facing resistance around these levels here. Take a look. There was a lot of actions here. Support. We're playing with this level again. We went above it. We tried to break down. We couldn't. Then we bounced of it. It went making a lower low back in beginning of March, and we heading there again to that resistance. So we'll be watching Dow Jones on a possible resistance around here. Now, European indices followed the US as well. That nice move to the upside. That's UK FTSE. DAX, similar to Nasdaq actually, it broke through this resistance. DAX looks very strong. There was a lot of accumulation here, fell, moved to the downside, and we are above this accumulation that went for 5-6 weeks here. So let's see if we could go higher and try to challenge the all-time highs, or we might dip below this resistance here, 15,670, and try to look for support. The same thing with French index, very strong. The second consecutive week to the upside, and we are on the way to challenge also all-time highs here, similar to DAX. Okay, even Nifty, the Indian index, finally after this recent downtrend, we had a nice move. Friday was a strong move to the upside. So as you could see, all the indices had a nice move to the upside. A lot of excitement because of the inflation showing a little bit of a slowdown. And of course, this Friday NFP is very important as the Fed's, just to remind everyone, the Fed's looking at three major things in the way they make decisions with interest rate and their monetary policy. And that's how's the economy doing, the growth on the economy, the employment data, and the inflation data. So all those three aspects are very, very important. So this week we have the employment picture, how many jobs were added, and also unemployment and hourly wages, those numbers that are usually coming the first Friday of the month. Okay, so that's it pretty much with indices. Let's take a look at a few stocks. And I'm going to start with GE. If you remember, I mentioned to you, GE has been acting very, very strong, and it just keep on making highs here. So we'll be watching. We just broke through this recent resistance here. We closed higher with the gap. So let's see if this move continues then. And I want to go through the major stocks, the whales of the stocks, and see how all of them are doing. So Microsoft, nice week to the upside. Also, we are approaching to possible resistance here. As you could see, a lot of actions here. Here, we couldn't break it to the upside, couldn't break it to the upside. So at around 291, 292, we could be facing resistance there. So that's on Microsoft. Netflix, nice move after the recent sell-off. It was a regular profit taking 3 consecutive days. And most of the stocks actually are on the way up and might be facing the recent resistance similar to here. Let's take a look at Apple. Apple, the same idea. Nice 3 consecutive days to the upside. And if we are continuing higher, we probably will be facing resistance at some point at around 174, 175. That's where we turned around and made the lower low. We tried again, we failed, and we're on the way there again now. So that's Apple. Facebook had a nice also 3 days. We broke through this resistance here of 196, and we closed almost at 212. So similar idea, we might be going higher, either retesting 200 moving average, or also we have a clear resistance there. We just mark it somewhere around 230, 231. We might be facing resistance, and interestingly enough, in the same level as the 200 moving average currently is showing. Amazon is the weakest of the big stocks, but even Amazon's trying to climb out of it. It was a big sell-off here, another one here, another one here, and finally we tried to bounce over here, but we still need to prove that the stock is worth running it to the upside. We'll see how this week shows. We are below all the moving averages on Amazon. Google had the nice Wednesday. Actually, this is the weekly chart. So 2 consecutive weeks, and this week, actually, Google ended up in red because of the 3 previous days, the sell-off, and then Thursday and Friday, we moved to the upside. So let's see what's happening this week. Disney. I'm not sure if we spoke about it, but maybe in my other webinar I mentioned Disney might hit 100 and actually hit $100 here. It's a psychological number. Let's see what's next. We're approaching also 200 moving average over here. Let's see what happens there. Tesla, finally, it's above the 200 mark. And that happened on Friday. We just gapped and closed at the highs. Let's see if this time we managed to hold it. If you remember here, there were a few attempts. We came right back below. There was a lot of accumulation close to 200, between 190 and 200, and finally we broke through it. So let's see if this positive move continues. Pfizer. We spoke about Pfizer pretty much every week. And if you remember, I mentioned last week that we above the support again after the attempt to go lower, we failed. So we came right above the 39.76, and we didn't go back to touch that line again. So that means the buyers could be pushing it to the upside, and we are challenging this level here. The initial move. Just 1 second. My mouse is refusing to function properly. Okay, so high here is 40.81. We closed at 40.75, 6 cents below this. And if we break through it, we might actually continue, maybe retest this next level over here from which we failed to go higher. And it could be that move that the analysts have been talking about a few weeks back, saying that Pfizer could have a nice potential as the stock is cheap at these levels. Okay, and I just want to bring the GM as well. If you remember, I mentioned the stock was really selling off, and finally it actually bounced nicely to the upside, and we're facing the 200 moving average around here. And let's take a look at Intel as well. Again, I mentioned to Intel with their plans of building a plant in Germany, and they're getting a lot of money from the German government, and it really works out nicely for them. We're out of this channel. This is the weekly chart. On the weekly chart, we're right on the 50-week moving average, and let's see how we continue from here. And the monthly chart looks very nicely. We finally, in 1 month, we just got out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months of stagnation around here. We just broke through it to the upside. So that's as far as Intel. Okay. So just to wrap it up, stocks similar to indices might be facing resistance on these levels or a little bit higher. And let's see how this week will play for the stocks. And also, it's a short day as Friday. It's not going to be any trading. Okay, we'll move to commodities. And we start, of course, with our favorite crude oil. We mentioned 70, then we mentioned 73, and we broke through the 73, and we closed at 75.68. Of course, as the market went up, the three consecutive days, oil went up 2 consecutive days, and Wednesday didn't really go up, but then it caught up with the program of the excitement of the equity markets going higher, potentially lower inflation, potentially Feds wrapping up their increases and possibly starting at some point cutting the interest rate. In any event, what's good for economy, good for oil, and oil went higher. Let's see if this move continues. And similar to the stock, you see, we are about $1.30, $1.40 away from this resistance from which we sold out, and that's around $77. Let's see what's happening around that level. Natural gas, our favorite natural gas that a lot of traders are really struggling with. The buyers are still holding, hoping for the bounce. The sellers having a hard time making money because we are holding this level around 210 to 11 with a little spikes to the downside, and it looks like this level is really, really holding. So, and as you know, if you trade natural gas regularly, sometimes natural gas doesn't do anything for a while and then it just shoots up or down. So everything's possible. So here we can just shoot up and try to retest this $3 level that we hit the beginning of March, or we can just give up and go lower and retest the previous lows around 160. Also a possibility. So it's something is really cooking here, as you know. When the range is really tight, it's like a spring that's going to shoot one day or another. So we'll be waiting for that. Now, if you're already here, let's take a look at 2 stocks. They moved up on the oil going higher. That's Chevron and ExxonMobil. Of course, they are sensitive to the oil prices. Okay, so let's take a look at gold and other metals. Gold, after this move, there's a consolidation here happening. We do try to break through 200. There were a few times, sorry, to 2000. There were a few times in the past recently, and we couldn't really manage to do that. So we're clearly in the range between 1955 and 2000, and let's see how gold will play out. And again, like I mentioned to you, gold is kind of a regaining that status of the safe haven. So as the stock market or the equity market went higher, gold sold a little bit on Friday. Silver, very strong over here and facing exactly as we speak. It's facing resistance at this current levels around 24. And there was a lot of action here. The first one, we hit that level. Recently, that was December of last year. We hit 24.11, and take a look how many times we tried tails, and we just kept on going lower. There was a lot of accumulation here, and then we just dropped, and then we started in the beginning of March, moved to the upside, and we recovered that move. So at this point, we might be facing resistance. Again, we can just shoot up and retest this tail here around 24.5, 24.58, also possible. And we'll be watching silver. It's very, very strong here. Platinum is trying to break out from this resistance, but as of now, it's not really managing to do that. And palladium, we mentioned palladium, that we hit these levels here, levels of 3 years. If you remember that example I gave you, March 2020, we hit it again in February 2023, 3 years almost. Then we had another attempt to break through it, and in March, it was a green month. So as we held this level with the multiple retests, at some point, the instrument might actually go and try to recover all these losses or not. So we'll be watching that. Soft commodities were mentioned. We had a nice week for them. Wheat had a nice move to the upside here. Corn, even stronger, nice move, and we're kind of entering this zone with all of the moving averages. You have all of them around here, 50, 200, and a 100 moving average. Let's see what's next for corn and soybeans as well. We held the 100, then we went through 200 and stopped right on the 50 moving average here. So let's see what soft commodities will do this upcoming week. And cocoa, if you remember, I mentioned that 2850 might be retested, and look how beautiful. On Thursday, we hit that level and we moved higher. That was a nice move on Thursday. So now we're retesting the level that we had 3 years ago, 2020, February and March. Actually, that's February. And we are trying to challenge that level again. And the level here is 29.23. And then we closed at 29.27, 4 points higher. So cocoa is in a very interesting spot here. Take a look. This is a monthly triple retest of this level. One was 2018, April. Then we had 2020 February, and now again. So this level tends to be a very strong level. Also here, back in 2016, the fall started from around this level. So very crucial level for cocoa at around 29.20 to 29.30. Okay, so that's commodities. Let's move to Forex world, and we'll start with dollar index. Dollar index, it's clearly trading in a $1.50 zone here between 101.5 and 103. Take a look. It was the moment we broke 103 after a few attempts, we went straight to 101.40 and we held this level. We had a brief move to the downside. We recovered in the very next day and went above 3 again. And now we're back in this channel. So again, between 101.4 and 103. Friday, it was a green day. And let's see if that move continues. In any event, if dollar wants to go higher, we need to reestablish support above 103. And if dollar is planning on continuing the downtrend journey, we need to start closing below 101.40 and form a resistance there. Okay, this is the monthly chart. You could see we had a robust move to the upside on all the Fed's actions as far as the interest rate increase, and then we had a nice sell-off here. We gave away maybe 40% from this move, just visually looking at it, and then last month it was a nice move to the upside, and actually that's February. March is already the last month, and March we kind of gave back that gain. So let's see what dollar index will do next. Now on the majors, euro and pounds are weak. Friday they sold out, and both of them, especially the pound. So you could see it tried to break out of this 104 area. We couldn't. USD CAD selling off on the weakness of the dollar and also a recent strength of the oil. Again, for new people, just a reminder that Canadian dollar is sensitive to the price of oil, as Canada is a large exporter of that product. Swiss franc, nothing major is happening here, just sitting at these levels here. Yen, dollar moved higher against the yen on Wednesday and Thursday, and Friday is a little bit of a sell-off, sitting on between 50 and 100 moving average. And again, I think in about 6 days we'll have a new governor of Bank of Japan taking position. And let's see, even though in his last speech he said he will be continuing the same policy, easing policy, but we might see some changes the moment he comes to that position. And Australian and New Zealand, as we said this week, they will have interest rate decisions, both of them. So as you could see, something is really happening here. There's a tight channel. This is the 4 weeks, and in a daily chart, so you could see here something's building up. So that's Australian and New Zealand dollar as well, as the range becomes very tight. So we might see some moves based on the interest rate decision on these guys. I want to bring Euro Aussie, the pair that I've been talking to you for a few weeks. We're still playing with this level, 162.24 level. As you could see, a lot of actions happening around this level. We were closed higher, then we went below again, we closed higher, below again, and we're really fighting over this level. And just to remind you, this is the level based on this weekly chart, and that's January of last year, 2022 January, from where we made a sharp drop to the downside, and we are trying to win this level and turn it into support. As of now, we haven't managed to do that, but a lot of action's been happening here. So we'll be continue watching Euro Aussie and potential breakout, or finally failing and maybe dropping it as well. So that's as far as Forex. And let's take a look at Bitcoin for dessert. The instrument's clearly trying to run. This is the weekly chart. We had a nice move here the week of March 12th, and we are holding within that top of this candle. So technically, it looks like it's ready to run. Again, there's a lot of issues with the Feds, regulators, SEC, and so on, really trying to impose extra regulations and new rules. So I guess we'll be hearing more news in that direction. And as of now, we're still fighting with this 28.25. And as of now, we're trading at 28,500. Last week, we briefly hit 29,000. That was 29,152. And it looks like we are building support above 28,000. So if nothing terrible will come, they might run it, I don't know, to some other psychological number. I guess 30,000 would be logical here, but too much uncertainty here. With again, just to remind you, FTX going belly up. and the CEO being charged with a lot of charges. And the last one was bribery charge. He was trying to bribe Chinese officials to unblock the money. Anyway, so that's Bitcoin, and I guess other coins are following. Let's see if we have another push to the upside, or we fail and we slide to the downside. Okay, so I guess that's it pretty much. I want to thank everyone for attending. And just to remind everyone, next week we'll have NFPs on Friday, besides other events that we went through. And the same Friday, the US market will be closed for the Good Friday holiday. And just to remind, this week we had a very strong closing of the week, of the month, and the quarter for special US equities. And NASDAQ is the winner there, making a very nice quarter. And a lot of excitement. And the same thing, some pessimism is going through the articles there. And the bank's issues are still there, even though they're trying to reassure us that things are okay. So it's going to be an interesting week. Let's see if this positive mood on equity market continues. And if not, we might see a sell-off. And again, NFP numbers are very important. And we'll see how the job market is supporting or not supporting the Fed's moves. Okay, I want to wish everyone a great weekend, whatever's left, and get some energy, get some power for the interesting week. And I wish everyone a very successful week. All the best. Take care.